waiting on Yasmin to come through, and we'll see when she does. But so far, how are you, Sandy? How's your day?
Good. I have been anticipating this hoop talks because I think there's a lot going on in the NBA, and it's the perfect time for literally the perfect day for us to be on here talking hoops. Yeah, there's quite a bit to talk about today for sure. For
There's
sure.
so much going on in the basketball world, eh?
I know. We don't even know if the Celtics and the Raptors are going to be playing tomorrow, so that's a new
Mhm.
development this last hour. So yeah, no, I'm curious to see what's going to happen moving forward, and if any other teams are going to start making demands in that type of way. Um, because essentially they did say that they would come into this bubble to have a platform to speak their mind, and to push the message of Black Lives Matter forward. But it seems only a few teams are really taking it seriously or beyond just the t-shirt and the going on bended knee. So I do wonder
Mhm.
if we're going to see um, that develop into something bigger, um, now that they're in the bubble and a new shooting has occurred. So yeah, no, it's
I
gonna.
know, absolutely. I mean, even starting with Fred and Norm's presser the other day, it was just so disheartening to, not even just have them have to discuss this, but to see them being put in the same position over and over again to be like, how do you feel? Where's your head at? How are you impacted by this? And Fred had like the best retort. He was like, okay, like how do you feel? How do you feel asking me these questions all the time? What do you want to do to help us and to help make sure that the narrative is moving forward and that we're doing what we can while we're playing basketball? But I think that he also made a really good point that they tried not to make it a distraction, but it's kind of been a distraction, right? Like I will say, even for myself, I think I've been really guilty of just getting excited with the NBA being back and all these exciting series and these
Mm,
matchups and stuff. And you kind of forget, like, they're wearing a shirt for a reason. They're kneeling for a reason. They're doing all this for a reason. That comes first. Basketball is
right,
afterwards.
right.
Um, and just as people, as talking about this, we 110% need to we need to be better at spearheading the conversation in the right direction. We need to make sure that because we've been given that platform, not just as
Yeah,
podcast hosts or whoever it is, even
yeah,
as fans,
right.
it's your responsibility to make sure that you're speaking up for the things that these players are yearning for,
Yeah,
because that's who you're watching. Like that's who's entertaining you.
right. I think this um this um this recent shooting, I think, has kind of put things in perspective again, because I think we all kind of lost a little bit of the conversation as the playoffs have gone on. I think we kind of forgot the plot, so to speak. Like, what were we talking about before this bubble was even a concept? These players said that they wanted to use their platform, and I think we lost some of that. I think we just got used to the t-shirt saying Black Lives Matter. I don't think, to be honest, I don't even think the players are thinking about it when they put those t-shirts on or they go on bended knee. It's become a little bit of a routine, and with this current shooting, I think it's put everything back into perspective. As for the presser yesterday with Norm and Fred, it was really, I completely understood where Fred was coming from. Like, I cannot even imagine what it feels like to continue to have the same conversation over and over and nothing changes. And it's like you have a predominantly white um, Raptors beat writers are predominantly white, and they probably haven't really written about these issues before. They're kind of being forced to talk about it now because of the platform, and because that's kind of what's been mandated, um, I think, by the NBA at this point, to have these kind of conversations. But you could tell with Fred and Norm, they were kind of like, oh, like, this is exhausting. You know, it's like, how many times do we have to say that Black Lives Matter? How many times do we have to say that just because somebody, even if somebody's doing something wrong, it does not mean that the police have the right to shoot you. You know, that's what, you know, you go to jail for. You know, if you've done something wrong, there's a justice system in place. Not that it works, but there's a justice system in place to take care of that. Even if he did something wrong, that does not mean that you get to essentially
No.
kill him or harm him. That's not your role. I don't see how that's protecting, and I don't see how that's serving. um Again, so I really like that energy that Fred had. Like, I got it 100%, because it's like, this is, excuse my language, but this is bullshit. You know, like, this is, it's too much. It's too much. Like, how many of these
100%.
do we have to see before things change? And to be honest, what can these basketball players do in a bubble? Like, and that's kind of the conversation that we've been having, like, prior to this bubble being formulated and them deciding to go. We had this conversation about it being a distraction, and I think it's hitting home for some of these players now. It's like, wow, okay, like, it really has become a distraction.
I mean,
um
Kyrie was right, eh?
Kyrie was right.
I mean,
Kyrie was
Woj wrote a
right.
whole hit piece on him, being like, "Oh, Kyrie, the
The
disruptor," and
disruptor.
he's right. He's
Kyrie was right.
100% right.
100%.
And here we have Yasmin. Hey, girl.
Hey,
She
Yaz.
still looks shell shocked.
Hi, Yaz. Can you hear?
Yeah, I can. No, not anymore. Speak again. Okay.
Yeah, she'll be
Yeah.
right back. But no, yeah, Kyrie was right. Kyrie was right, and I think it's a little bit, it's sad and hilarious at the same time.
I
Um,
mean, Woj literally wrote a hit piece on him to like get him to just make him the villain, the bad guy, to be like, oh, this guy doesn't want the NBA to be back. And what, we're not even a month in, we're like, oh, Kawhi was, sorry, not Kawhi, Kyrie was right.
Kyrie was right.
Kyrie had the right idea. Kawhi wasn't right. He went to the Clippers.
He went to the Clippers.
But Kyrie was right.
Can
And
you
then
guys hear
just,
me?
yeah, now we can hear you.
Okay.
Yeah, we
Here we
can hear
go.
you. Hi, Yaz.
Hey guys, how are
So
you
we're just
guys
talking
doing?
about the mental state of the league right now
Right.
and
Okay.
what these players must be going through, having to, like these Black men who play basketball, they wake up every morning, they go through social media, they see people who look just like them just being vilified and put in dangerous situations for the color of their skin. And then these guys have to put their phones down, go to the court, and play for millions of people. That's such a draining thing to do, and then doing that in a bubble with not having, maybe they've just had their family there now, but now it's just a draining experience in my opinion. And I feel like you're kind of seeing aspects of it happening with players like Paul George talking about how it's been affecting him. I forget who else came forward.
Grant
um
Hill came forward and
yeah.
said the bubble was really um, stressing him out, and you know, it's again, I think everything that's happened, um, again with the recent shooting, I think has brought things into perspective for these players. It's like, it's not just us being in a bubble, it's us being in a bubble and being affected by the things that initially, like, maybe we might have forgotten was happening, because you're in the bubble, you're existing only in your bubble, but now you realize, okay, wait, there's an impact here. um, and maybe being in this bubble, we're not able to make the impact that we want to be able to make. And I think that's also going to be draining, and we'll see the effects of that moving forward.
And then also, like, after the game, having the camera like shoved in their face and then asked to say, "Hey, how do you feel about so and so's death?" Like, personally, I don't even watch those videos. Like, I can't handle it.
Yeah.
So, like, imagining that they have to comment on it as if that, like, I think Fred mentioned it, and I think he put it like beautifully, where he said, like the responsibility shouldn't be on the people that are oppressed to comment
Mhm.
and to bring awareness and all that stuff. Like, it should be the ones that are in power, in positions of power, the people, like, for example, I think he mentioned ownership. Like, well, why isn't ownership lobbying legislators and politicians in the communities that they earn money from? You know what I mean? Like, if
Mhm.
they're seriously worried about the safety of their players and their families and the fans that predominantly make up the communities that watch the games and the performances, like, wouldn't you make it so that the community is safer? You know what I mean? Wouldn't you make it so that the people that you hire are protected? But no. So I think he brought up like a really valid point that I don't think any other player mentioned. Like, why do I have to come here with cameras in my face and talk about how we're going to make the world a better place? Like, I'm just,
100%.
I'm a
it's
basketball player.
yeah, like,
There are
I'm,
people with
you're
actual power
exactly.
that you should be pointing these questions towards.
I
Hmm.
think he even mentioned the Milwaukee Bucks owner. He was like, if he did something, imagine like the ripple effect that would cause within the government and everything else. But it's the wrong thing to do to put the cameras in players' face and be like, so how does this affect you? How are you doing mentally now? This must be just, disheartening you and everything. And it's like, yeah, but why do you don't have to show their pain to make people realize that they're going through pain.
Hmm.
It's on there. Everyone knows what's happening in the world. And yes, Anne just said, actually, she said Jaylen Brown has been talking about being depressed in the bubble, as well as LeBron. So these are big names and big players who are going through something. They're going through a pandemic, going through a racial movement, and then you're also stuck in a bubble. The impact and the mental health toll that these players must be going through, I feel for them, and I hope that they're able to get the proper just help that they need and proper guidance that would help them get out of it.
Yeah. And then did you guys mention that apparently, like, the Raptors
Yes, you
are?
want to put your mic up a little bit here?
Oh, sorry.
It's all
Let me bring it closer.
yeah.
How's that? Is that better?
Yeah, better.
Okay,
Yeah.
so I'll turn it up. But yeah, did you guys hear about? I don't know if you mentioned it, but with the Celtics and the Raptors apparently discussing boycotting Game One. I think Mark Spears just like moments ago tweeted that apparently the Celtics teammates and the Raptors have been having meetings since they're staying at the same hotel, the Grand Destino, and
Mm-hmm.
discussing like their options and the possibility that they can boycott Game One. So that would be really interesting. It would be like, I think that would be like a real statement, because not only would they be I think they would be defying like the NBA, like ownership, like the league office and stuff, to do something like that. It would make like a real statement. And it kind of veers off the form of protest that we've been seeing, which is like the words on the back of the jerseys and stuff, like, the lists that were provided to them and stuff. And now it's
Yeah,
like, hey, we're gonna blow this whole thing
legit.
up. How about that?
Yeah, yeah.
So
Like,
yeah, I don't even blame players who don't want to do that, but for those who do, like, if you want to engage in an effective form of protest that's going to gain attention and bring awareness, and perhaps even like pressure ownership to actually do things in their communities, then this would be it.
yeah, totally. I totally agree. Like, like a part of me is just like, oh my gosh, we waited for this matchup forever, and now
Mm.
because of these circumstances, we might lose out on it.
Of
But
course,
I
when
think
the
it's
Celtics and Raptors
right.
meet,
Like, of course, it's the Celtics and the Raptors.
it's like,
Okay,
hey, we're not playing.
it's like the universe just refuses to allow this matchup to happen. But I think it's actually absolutely perfect because of the fact that this is a matchup that I think everybody around the league wants to actually see. Um,
Mm-hmm.
so I
Yeah,
think
it's
it's
a
like
marquee matchup.
literally
Yeah.
right. It's literally the perfect time to make this kind of statement. And I think it is going to first force ownership to make some really big changes and really soon, because they did not come into the bubble to lose out on playoff games, and lose out on revenue. That defeats the purpose. So I think ownership will probably figure it out before tomorrow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We're gonna definitely get a statement from Woj saying that ownership of so and so and so and so is gonna do this and this to
We have
rectify.
two teams that just swept their opponent. Like, this is bound to be a fantastic series, not just on the court, but off the court. Like the fan base is going at each other, the passion and all that stuff. But Adam Silver is going to definitely feel it in his pocket if we boycott this season. I think that's what's necessary. That's what's needed, because you have, especially with the Raptors and Celtics, you have two very prominent and vocal rosters, because you have Jaylen Brown when it comes to Celtics, and you have Fred and Norm when it comes to the Raptors. So these two teams together, they're going to do whatever it takes to make sure that they get the proper conversation going, and the idea of, you know, just a series is behind them right now. Even Fred was like, I don't want to answer any questions about the series. I'm not here to talk about this right now.
Right. I also want to point out that I don't know, but I didn't see Adam Silver put out a statement in regards to the whole Masai situation, and I'm actually really upset about it, because we had all these rumors swirling about Masai going into the Knicks and going to Washington, and that was perfectly fine. But you find out that you're one of your employees, an important employee at that, was harassed, racially profiled and harassed at his job, and you have nothing to say.
I think he also doubled down on Masai when that happened.
He
was
did.
kind of insinuating that, like, oh, we don't know the whole story. Like, he didn't go straight towards defending him at all. And then now that the truth is out there, Masai's lawyers released the videos, there's no, oh, sorry, I was wrong. Oh, Masai, hour later.
That would make a great statement if Adam Silver would come out and say something, but silence. Very interesting. I just wanted to bring that up.
I mean, he gave the players like 10 names to choose from for their shirts. I don't think he's
good point.
What's going on?
Point. They can't even have no name on their jersey. It's just
that was so
But I guess this kind of leads us into the Boston series. If they do play tomorrow, how do you guys think Kyle's back?
It's weird because I'm anticipating that he's gonna miss game one. I'm like prepping myself for that. But I have a feeling he's gonna play the whole time. Even like as long as he has no like torn ligaments or broken bones, I feel like he's gonna play. And
he would staple his foot on if he had to.
Oh yeah.
Especially for this,
like a torn thumb throughout the most physical series I've ever seen. So, I have a feeling that he will probably. He said, I think it was Nick Nurse who said like during practice the other day that he's day to day. So I think that's good news. Even if we get 70% Kyle, that's still like better than no Lowry. So he has to play like less than 30 minutes. It's still like, you know, you can stagger he and Fred. You know, maybe you can have Kyle run the bench units or something just to kind of maximize him. So I hope he plays. And weirdly enough, like since the Celtics are missing Hayward, it makes it like less devastating, I think. Missing Lowry. So
I think so too.
I think it's a little more manageable than it would have been. Like if Lowry was missing and they were fully healthy, the Celtics, I think that the Raptors would have lost kind of swiftly too.
I agree. I think for Hayward, because they would have to replace his production off the bench, and their bench doesn't really match our bench. We do pretty well in that
and with
regard.
Smart starting, Smart would have to start since Hayward's out. So
Hayward's out.
I think the only bench players they would have are like who is it? Brad Wanamaker, who's like, he's good, but he's not really like the scorer that you need. I think he averages maybe like 7 points or something like that. And then they have Enes Kanter, who I think Serge matches up with really well. Like I think Serge can kind of put him in like that pick and pop with Lowry or something, and kind of
he'd be barbecue chicken all over.
Yeah, like it can be bad. Like if Serge is on, him, like it can get ugly. Because right now he's playing like he's playing like he was in like the Philly series or something.
No, he's going off. It's crazy.
So and then Norman Powell and Serge Ibaka, like that's like the scoring punch. Like I feel like Norm is like such an X factor for the series, because I feel like he is like on a lot of teams, on a lot of contenders, he'd be the third best player, like easily.
And he's coming off the bench.
Like, he's totally overqualified to come off the bench. So
100%. Oh my god.
So if he comes
How
out,
is he coming off the bench for us?
Like, imagine you're like a bench player who plays like 17 minutes a night, and you see this guy
You see
like
Norm just
leaping.
finishing.
You're like, what
It's
the
actually
hell?
disrespectful. Like what?
Yeah, it's so rude.
You go from like Freddie and Lowry to like Norm, like off the bench,
Like
just
no
like,
breaks,
oh
no
my
breaks.
God, that's crazy.
It's
So what
amazing.
matchups are you going to be looking forward to now that we know Hayward's not going to be um, playing? I think an
Between
interesting
players,
one,
you mean?
yeah, between players, like it
Okay.
would be interesting. Lowry and Marcus Smart, I think
Hmm.
now that is going to be interesting. I do want to see how Pascal's going to shape up in that series, especially with
Yeah.
Tatum and the way that he's playing now. Gasol versus,
Gasol's a major one.
yeah,
I
Gasol
feel like
is a
he's
major
kind of
one.
struggled in the Celtics
Celtics,
games
yeah.
that he
Yeah,
played. I feel like he doesn't but I don't worry about Mark because he's so smart. I feel like one film session and he'll know what to
he'll
do.
work out his issues.
You know, he's a
Yeah,
genius.
True.
So I feel like in those series I don't think he's used to playing against the center like a Daniel Tice who he's kind of quicker. He doesn't
yeah,
really score. All he does is set screens. So I feel
right,
like there's going to be a big emphasis on um, defense for Mark because they're gonna bring him up high to like the
right,
perimeter like Steph Curry was.
right,
So I'm interested
Yeah.
to see in how he combats that being a bigger, slower guy. But then he's so good with his footwork, so he can I feel like manage that. But I'm also interested in like you brought up Smart versus Kyle, which is awesome.
yeah,
Kyle.
Like I think that's like the intensity is going to be so fun there and the defense. But I also am interested about Fred VanVleet versus Kemba
mm,
because with the way
yeah,
Fred is playing right now, like I feel like if he has a good series, he can kind of establish himself as like
an
a
all-star,
all-star caliber point guard because if he's giving
absolutely,
you like Kemba scoring coupled with his defense,
with
like
his defense,
I
Yeah.
feel like this could be like a pivotal series for his like how he's going
his
to be
growth,
compensated in the
and how
future
he's
for
seen.
his contract.
Yeah,
You know, the difference between being a I don't know, like a 4 year, 100 million guy versus being a max player. So it's going to be very interesting.
yeah, it's gonna be interesting to see Van Vliet like chasing Kemba around
Yeah.
to see if he can stop him. I I uh I don't know, like I, I'm nervous about this series for just because I feel like in the last game it was just the weirdest game. Like they could not make any shots. I don't know if they were just in their head, but like defensively they
Yeah.
just weren't, they didn't look as fluid. Their rotations weren't as smooth. They left a lot of people open, and the people that they left open were hitting shots. At some point, the
Yeah.
Celtics weren't even hitting. That game was just ugly. So I just want to
Yeah.
pretend it didn't happen. It
I have
just
it
was like
erased
the
from my memory. Or I
Yeah.
say this was like Nick Nurse's like conspiracy game.
throwaway game.
Like I don't
No,
think it's real.
it was.
That one was a weird one. I don't really like. I'm not even like taking anything from it because I feel like every single time, like for the past few years, every time the Raptors play the Celtics, it's like a very even, competitive
Right,
game. I feel like the Raptors were due for like a
right.
regression night
Yeah,
because
Yeah.
they were knocking down shots like for games on end. So I feel like they were due a night where they were
a
missing
bad
everything
night.
that they
Right.
were open with. So like the Celtics are still awesome defensively, but that's not the reason I think why our good shooters were missing open shots. So
Hmm.
um, I and also yeah, they just seem kind of out of sorts. I think that the playoffs it would be a more competitive matchup, and I feel like for example, I think it was the last Philly series and even the Bucks series last year. I feel like Nick Nurse kind of would give it a game or two before he really puts in his game plan and
Yeah,
kind of see how they like. For example, I guess matching Embiid's minutes with Gasol.
yeah.
He didn't do that until like game three or something, and then the
Right,
Raptors went on to like win 3 out of 4 games or something.
right.
And then you have with the Bucks series where he didn't put Kawhi at the center of the wall until game three as well.
Hmm.
So I feel like with the Celtics series, there's less of a margin for error because we don't have that generational superstar to
Right,
kind of
Yeah,
clear
exactly.
up your mistakes and stuff and
right.
allow you to have that huge margin of error. So I feel like if the Raptors come in and just gut punch them with the game plan immediately and then change it as they go so they don't get redundant,
Repetitive,
then I think
yeah.
it would be a good. I think I would favor them coming out of that, even though I don't even like predicting series.
Predicting series, yeah. No, I do see the Raptors coming out. I'm just, I guess maybe the fan in me is kind of like, I need them to come out of this series just because this has been a series that we've been waiting for so long. If the Raptors lose, I'm gonna be devastated.
Oh my God,
So I'm
imagine
just
the
like,
Raptors lose. I might have to leave Earth. It's not gonna
If
be
they lose
pretty.
in
Like the
seven, I wouldn't
Celtics,
mind as much. If it's a
right,
seven-game
really.
series,
yeah,
then it's like, oh, they put up a fight, and
they
then it
put
was
up
like a coin flip
right,
towards the
yeah,
end.
yeah.
But if they're like gone in 5 or 6, we're gonna become Dishes and Dimes Celtics podcast.
Uh, I already like Jalen Brown, so I'm halfway
Yeah, I'm a
there.
huge Jalen Brown fan, and Tatum's nice. Like
And
they're all
Tatum's,
great.
That's
yeah,
okay. I
I
think
hate
for
how
us, as
likable they
long
are
as
this year.
we're making our shots, I think we win. Like as long as we're making the shots, I think we're good because we have the defense on our side. We'll be fine. Like we mentioned, Hayward's out, so you're not really looking at the Celtics being too much of a threat. Like they are top heavy, but I feel like we match up with them really well. But as long as we just make our shots, I think we're good. Like I don't want to predict either, but Raptors in 6. And like you mentioned about Nick Nurse too, I think like even like maybe that's why I was thinking he might be doing some conspiracy stuff against the Celtics game before the playoffs started, just because he understands that Brad Stevens is also a good coach. Like Brad Stevens isn't like Bud Budenholzer. He's not going to not adjust. He's going to make the adjustments that he needs to do. And,
yeah,
and when you have a coach who's on top of his stuff and he's like really observing the game, you want to keep some cards to yourself. You don't want to
yeah,
show him everything that you've got. Like, you're going to have a tough series with him because it's not just a matter of, Kyle versus Smart, Tatum versus Pascal. This is also Nick Nurse versus Brad Stevens. And that is going to be like
I feel
probably
like
like
that's
one of
where
the
the
better parts.
emphasis is. I feel like it's going to be a coaching battle because I feel like the
Yeah.
talent is pretty much even between both teams. I think the Raptors bench gives them the edge, but in the playoffs, it's really about your top 7, and top 7 versus top 7, they're pretty even.
right,
Yeah.
So it's not as big of a discrepancy. So I think it's going to be really coming down to maybe on court leadership. So who has the best guidance on the court, and also that the coaching, because it's going to be like a lot of chess matches. And Brad Stevens, he's like very interactive from court side, just like Nick Nurse. He's like right there yelling plays and like making calls, yelling at his players. So it's going to be really, really interesting.
So there's one particular matchup that I'm, again, Pascal and Tatum, right? What are you worried about Pascal in terms of that matchup? What worries you? What gives you confidence? How do you see that shaking up?
I think just Pascal being assertive and aggressive.
Yeah,
You kind of just want to see that side of Pascal. I want to see him take over Tatum. I think they will 100% rely on Tatum a lot. And I think Tatum's going to be aggressive. Tatum has been pretty aggressive and he
yeah,
gets to the rim at his will. And that's
yeah,
kind of what we need Siakam to do. His threes are great. Like they're falling, they're doing really well, but we were going to need him to really drive and just be a nuisance in the paint. Do
yeah,
what he can.
Yeah, I agree. I feel like the Raptors defend Tatum really well. It's weird that I'm not even like too worried about it because they he's like the ultimate scorer where he can score like on all 3 levels, but his one weakness is his playmaking out of doubles, out of like the blitz and finding his teammates. He kind of gets tunnel vision sometimes,
hmm,
and I feel like on the other side, Pascal's not the 3 level scorer that Tatum is, but I feel like he's like he
better
plays
at
point
playmaking.
sometimes for the team. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Like he had 10 assists the other night. He's a great playmaker. He's a very willing passer, sometimes too willing.
yeah,
It kind of reminds me of Kyle in that sense. So I think with him, it's like what you said. He needs to kind of remember that few players can guard him. I feel like that's what he was in the beginning of the season, and then he became a little bit more kind of shaky in that
tentative.
sense.
Yeah,
Yeah, towards the end of the season, but then like I think he's finding that rhythm again. It's all about rhythm. He mentioned it. He says that the only thing that I feel different is that I'm not quite in that rhythm that I had before when he was on a
hmm,
run. So He needs to find that rhythm. And if the Raptors collectively guard Tatum well, I think that Pascal can win that matchup. The bodies they can throw at him are very limited. I think that they probably perhaps like Tatum and Brown, and then you have Smart, who's on the smaller side. But I think they're going to throw him on him just the way they do with like they throw him on Giannis, like that will defend anybody. So,
Right.
um,
I
yeah.
like
So
him
it's going to
though.
be they're going to be very physical with him. They're going to send a lot of looks at him, a lot of bodies. They're going to sag way back, like probably around the mid-range area, and allow him to take those
Yeah.
threes, which he's been willing to do. I like that he's built that habit up, so
Mhm.
that after he hits a couple, they're gonna have to start to respect it. So
Right.
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. So after like if all those things go right, I think he can win that matchup. But at the same time, like Tatum's so young and he's growing so exponentially, you don't know if
Right.
this is the series where he takes another leap. So let's just hope that it's our all-star that takes that leap.
Right. No, that's what I'm hoping for.
I
Yeah.
feel like when Pascal realizes that he's like 12 feet tall, he's good. Like he's like, okay, like no
And
one
strong
can
as
guard me.
hell, like
Yeah. I'm like a giant, like no one can stop me. But then when he gets into that mode of being passive and stuff, then it's kind of just like, Pascal, like you're 20 feet tall. Get in the
yeah.
paint. You
I don't
can
know.
do
I
this.
think he forgets that he could do the spin move. Like sometimes he's in the paint and I'm like, this is your perfect opportunity to spin and like put it in the, and he just, and I'm just like,
Oh, for
Siakam,
me.
like, I don't know if he's focusing too much on like developing his mid range and the three that
And
he's like,
passing. Sometimes he passes
right.
out, and I'm like,
And
you
I'm like,
had that layup, man.
bro, just take it to the hoop. You got this.
Not
Like,
everyday
you
point
got it.
guard.
Not every day. Exactly. Not every day point guard. Oh my God. So I hope he just finds his rhythm in the paint a little bit because I've been missing that. I've been missing the patent spin move. Like we haven't really seen it in the last couple of games, and I'm just like, well, where is it? Like I love the threes, but give me
I
the
will
Yeah.
say
spin, baby. Give me
passing
the
has gotten
spin.
a lot better after Kyle
Sorry?
left. That his passing has gotten a lot better. His playmaking after
Yeah.
Kyle came, he was like he had what like 10 assists that night, or maybe I'm confusing
Yeah.
it.
He
He
was
Yeah.
was
super turnover prone in the beginning of the season. Like he would get
yeah.
every pass out the post would get like picked off by someone flying by.
Yeah.
But I feel like he's not the most accurate passer yet. That'll come with time where he can get it right into like the shot pocket of a player. But he like knows who's available when, which is so important. Like having that court vision. So I'd actually love to see him at point more often. And also one thing that I would love to see is if Kemba goes nuts, put Pascal on him. Like, you know what I mean? Like he can
Ooh.
keep up with point guards. That size I feel like would be overwhelming. I saw him on Karis LeVert a couple times, and
Yeah.
Karis is like the same way where he'll use that pick and roll and get really shifty around the
Yeah.
rim and everything. And they would just put this 6'9" guy on top of him with quick feet. You know what I mean? So I feel like that would be like a kind of something in their back pocket if the matchup becomes overwhelming because I don't even know who Pascal would be on. Maybe Jalen Brown,
Yeah, I
perhaps.
think so.
Yeah, I
Mhm.
think he can. Yeah, that makes sense. Because Jalen takes a lot of like kind of catch and shoots, and
Yeah.
Pascal can run at him. So yeah, I think that'll be the option that they look at.
Yeah, and that's all tomorrow in case they decide not to boycott. We'll see what happens. And speaking of the Raptors defense, did you guys see the list of the defensive nods? And there was not one Toronto Raptor mentioned. Not one.
Defense Player of the Year, yeah.
The team that parks the bus, the team that parks the double-decker bus, had no defensive nods. Like we're like
But you
concrete.
know who did? Hassan Whiteside and Andre
Andre Drummond.
and Drummond.
Drummond, bro. Oh, I
That's
don't even know.
That gave me a good laugh
right?
yesterday. That was so funny. And the guy who did it was like doubling down in the thread. He's like, "No, I said what I said."
If
That
I
was
voted for Drummond, you would never hear from me again. You wouldn't know who voted for Drummond. So
oh
he's
my god.
I just
And Whiteside
I don't
over
know.
Giannis, I think he had he gave one of those guys the number one position. Like even though like
Drummond,
Giannis
yeah.
was the best defender this season, like period, absolutely. I would have liked to see OG get a nod, even if it was like third place or something, fourth
Yeah,
place. Like
me too,
I
man.
think it was Zach Lowe who said this guy might be the best on ball defender in the NBA. Like
He
period.
is
The guy
100%.
is yeah, like he is shut down. Like you can put him 1 through 5 on anybody and feel comfortable, with the decision. So that was I think it's very narrative based. OG, he's a quiet offensive guy. He's making strides, but he doesn't have the high steal rate. It's all very cerebral. His style of defense is all very
Like you actually have to
smart.
watch the
And it's
game. That's
yeah, and
that's
it's
the
all
thing. It's not
about
a highlight thing.
yeah, it's all about he doesn't let players even attempt shots at him. They'll try and get away from him. So
Right.
he's
Yeah.
not always going to have those highlights. Like they don't want to go at him.
The players
That's
don't
what.
come near him.
Like OG's
And also,
terrifying.
speaking of the
Yeah.
Celtics series, having Hayward out would probably allow the Raptors to put OG on Tatum, because usually OG tends to be on Hayward. I feel like whenever I watch
Right.
that matchup, because Hayward's a little too big for a Kyle to
A
guard.
Kyle.
So
Yeah.
yeah, so we
No,
put
interesting.
Kyle. I think had the most time guarding Tatum throughout that series. So throughout the regular season series. So. And he did a great job, weirdly enough.
Yeah,
Like, I think Tatum only averaged like 16 points on like really
I
really
saw
bad
that
field
too.
goal percentage.
And Tatum said himself, he's like, when he was asked about the best defender in the league who guards him, he was like, it's not one person, it's a team. It's the Toronto Raptors.
Yeah.
And like, Bill didn't get the defensive nods.
I don't know. I mean, I honestly feel like most of these people don't actually watch the Raptors until they're in the playoffs, to be honest, because it doesn't make sense for like the number 2 defense in the NBA or number 1 defense in the NBA to have no nods. That actually literally makes no sense, like
Hopefully
at
for
all.
all defense, we see a couple guys
Sorry?
get in. Hopefully for all defense, we see like a couple guys
Yeah.
get some attention, get some
It
love.
should make it. Fred's been really good too.
Right.
He's been off the charts. Like I don't understand how you don't have Fred or OG. Like you have 2 of the best position defenders in our roster, and there's absolutely no mention of the Toronto Raptors, the team that parks the bus.
See, this is why we're going to win a championship, because I think our team has a chip on their shoulder. They want the respect, and they're going to try to go out and get it, because this is just ridiculous. Yeah.
Did you guys watch the Mavs Clippers matchup last night?
Girl.
A little bit, yeah. I think I watched the first quarter and I saw I was doomed. So
I was like,
like this is not as fun as the last one.
Like, I don't know. I mean, like, how are you guys feeling in terms of, do you think the Clippers are just gonna, now that they have, I guess, a little bit, like PG has gotten going in that game, how do you think it's gonna shape up? Are the Mavs gonna come back with another punch, or is it kind of the end of the series, so to speak?
I think I tweeted like right before the game, I have a feeling this is like when Paul George is gonna figure it out. That was my prediction. Because like, he's too good to just be like this awful for all. Like we have to ask some serious questions if he stays like really bad. But he figured it out, and he had like 35 points in less than 30 minutes, way less than 30 minutes.
Yeah.
I really felt
but yeah, if Paul George is
sorry, go ahead.
No, I was really say if Paul George is going off, like you don't stand a chance against the Clippers. I feel like if he figures it out, then they have 2.
Everybody's done for.
Yeah, 2 players on one team. Like,
boo.
I would want to see Kristaps back. That would have been such a fun series with everybody.
Yeah.
But I mean, I don't think Mavs have much of a chance with Kristaps out and Luka being a little bit injured. And oh my God, we talk about Morris's dirty trick.
Yeah, I didn't see that.
Is it dirty?
I think it was dirty. I don't even understand why he was running. Like, okay, why were you running towards him in the first place? That's what I was trying to understand. Like, I didn't understand why he went towards him in the first place. Your team is running back. I don't understand why you ran there to begin with. Like,
someone showed another angle from like the side camera.
Yeah.
I think it was the rail camera. And you see that he like changes his pivot to like match Luka's foot. Like he literally aimed for it. He was going this way and he shifted this way towards his feet. So yeah, it's intentional. And it's a Morris, like this particular Morris brother with a history
Just
of,
one. Yeah.
being really
Quit.
dirty on the court. Like this Morai, I think it was.
It's from the other
Or
one of the
Kelsey said
Morai.
that. But yeah, like that was just, and he has a history of it. People were like posting clips of past times where he's done like dirty things or just being like unprofessional on the court. I think this is the guy who's talking about what is it, feminine tendencies
Mm-hmm.
in
Yep.
regards to Jay Crowder. I think it was
Yep.
this Morai twin.
Yeah, it was that Morai. I don't know. Like, I feel like Adam's gonna get him because that's Adam's new like
Well,
shiny
Golden ticket,
golden ticket.
child.
Like, oh, we got
Wonder
another one.
kid.
And you went and stepped on his foot when it's already,
Oh my
aching.
god.
Oh, you're in trouble. Adam's gonna. Oh, I can't wait to see what
Stern
action.
warning. Fine.
he's
Yeah,
not gonna be in NBA anymore.
he's not gonna.
Well,
Yeah.
I know I saw the same thing. I saw when he was taking his step forward, it was very natural. He's going into his direction. And the second, and then you see his left foot kind of just like match the
Yeah.
trajectory of Luca's, how where
Yeah.
his feet, and he kind of just like takes another extra hop too
Yeah.
and steps in it. And it's like if it was anybody else, then you're like, okay, you know what? Give him
It
the
was an
benefit.
accident. Yeah.
Yeah, he like it might not have been on purpose, but the morons like it's in their history. It's in the blood. It's what
Right.
happens.
I mean, I guess that's a good way to guarantee that you get to the second round. I guess that's a way to go about it.
But like that's like bad karma. You have Kawhi who's
It's
so
definitely bad karma. And if he did that intentionally, I just hope the Lakers just. I don't want the Lakers to win, but like, if he did that intentionally,
Let's relax
then
now.
I know, right? Anyway, yeah.
So, let's move on to the next topic. Jamal Murray, I did actually watch that game because I thought it would be the night that Denver would be eliminated. So I'm like, let me see this. Let me watch Michael Porter Jr. go home.
Right.
So,
Didn't happen.
so Jamal Murray, like, I feel like he had a very quiet first half, and then
Yeah.
he just goes insane for the second half of the game. He had like 35 points or something, splitting double teams, dunking on people. Like, he just looked insane out there and sealed the game for them and was just that energy that they needed. And this series is like weirdly interesting because I'm like, this is a snooze fest. Utah and Denver, I'm not watching this.
I know.
But
Yeah.
then you have Donovan Mitchell and Jamal Murray who are like blossoming at the same time, just kind of becoming kind of like superstars basically. Like, these are guys who might be all-stars next year. In the West, which is like particularly difficult. So they're going to be going up against shooting guards or point guards like Steph Curry and Harden and all that. So it's going to be
Yeah.
tough for them, but I feel like there might be a place for one of them there. So that this series is weirdly like amazing.
I was
Yeah, I
the same
suggest
way. I
everyone
was like, I
watch
think
it.
it's kind of boring, but then I'm like, wait a second. You're looking at Donovan Mitchell versus Jamal Murray, and then it's the Joker versus Rudy Gobert. Like it's really good. And like you mentioned, how Harris had a quiet first quarter for the first half. Joker made up for that. He was he had like what I think he was almost like undefeated from the 3-point line in the first quarter. He was killing it.
Yeah, he didn't miss a shot at one point.
No.
I think he was like perfect from the field until like the second
Yeah.
quarter or something.
It's crazy.
But yeah, that series is actually like really, really good offense. So if you want to see like amazing offense, like just really pretty offense, I'd watch it. But yeah, like what was the question? Is Jamal Murray the best Canadian?
Yeah.
In the league, I still feel like if I had to build around a team, I would probably choose Shai Gilgeous because I feel like
me too.
like his IQ, like that's someone who can run a team. So, but like as a pure scorer, he's like miles ahead. So, well, it seems he's miles ahead. Like that 3-point shot, that pull up is like insane. It's something that he can do, like
crazy.
Yeah, move forward with. So I'm probably gonna say Shai Gilgeous is the best Canadian in the NBA right now, but and with the way he's playing in OKC and showing out versus Harden,
Being mentored by Chris Paul. Imagine his ceiling in a couple years. I mean, like you said, we have a pretty good scorer, Jamal Murray, right now, but Shy just being mentored and just being strung along with CP3 and getting all the proper ins and outs of the game and everything, he's gonna be unstoppable in a couple of years. He's gonna be a force
For
to be
sure.
reckoned with.
Yeah, that series
Totally
is
agree.
like seeing OKC play against the Rockets and like seeing them
Tie it up.
use that lineup where they put Gallinari at the 5, I believe they put him. Like they bench Steven
Yeah.
Adams. So they play like 3-point guards. They put like a small forward at the 5. So they go super small to match the
Yeah.
Rockets. And like apparently, I think it was mentioned that over the last 2 years that this has been the best lineups among 5-person lineups in the NBA, like in the last 2 years. So apparently, like the excess of playmaking and shooting on the floor is ridiculous, and that's including. I think it was on the Pound the Rock podcast I was on yesterday, where it was mentioned that that's including the Warriors' death lineup with KD and Draymond
What?
and Steph and Clay and Iggy. Like
Whoa.
that's insane.
That is crazy.
Insane.
Yeah,
That's actually
so
crazy. I need to
seeing them
watch
use
more
it and
OKC.
the fourth quarter execution from CP3, like you don't want to be in a close game in the fourth quarter. I think we saw it versus us, like when he was in Toronto
Yeah.
with OKC.
Yeah.
Like you don't want to be in a close game during the fourth
You
quarter
don't
with
want it.
him because
Most
he
clutch
goes for
player.
that elbow jumper. There's no
Yeah.
stopping him.
It's
It's
money.
money. It's like Kawhi's shot. Like it's going in.
It's going.
It's going
There's no
in.
nothing around it. Yeah, I was gonna say, I think he has the most clutch points, doesn't he? In the league,
Yeah.
Chris Paul. He's we know we talk about Jimmy buckets, but like Chris Paul is just phenomenal. He's so good. And the fact that he's being mentored by oh, are we done? Oh, the fact that he's being mentored by he's mentoring Shy. I don't know. I know CP3 is going to leave in a couple of years, but then just knowing that Shy is going to rise to the occasion right afterwards, I'm so excited. It's going to be nice.
Yeah. Who do you see winning that series?
Houston Rockets and OKC. Westbrook's not back until the next series, right? Or next month or
Yeah, it
something.
doesn't look like he's going to be back this series.
I can't count Chris Paul out.
Yeah, when you don't have weirdly enough, when you don't have Westbrook, it's basically James Harden and a collection of vets, like just vet role players. There's no like young spark in like a Shea Gilgeous or a Lou Dort, Canadian who was guarding James Harden amazingly over the last 4 games. So at the end of the day, I was just shocked by how low IQ they were during the fourth quarter. Like they were throwing the ball out of bounds and stuff. Like they were missing shots, and like the Rockets are the only team in the league where they can hit 8 threes coming out of halftime. And just kind of, and you like any other team that does that, your spirit is just ruined. Like you're not gonna
It's just broken. Yeah.
But then you're like, oh, okay, they're gonna miss their next 27.
Right.
You just keep playing, just keep doing what you do. Like it's not intimidating at all.
Yeah,
You're right.
They're so weird. They had so many threes. Like they had like 20 threes or something, and they were trailing.
8 immediately out of timeout, out of halftime.
Like, real after like isn't this the league to have threes? Shouldn't like threes just win you the game? And you're trailing to OKC, who has Chris Paul. I don't know. It's crazy. I think Houston's execution I'd be worried about, and compared to OKC's like master execution, anything could happen.
Yeah. Weirdly enough, I think the second best crunch time team, or the two best crunch time teams in the NBA, I don't know which is first, but it's OKC and the Raptors. So, and then for the Raptors, I believe that it's Kyle Lowry who's leading the team in offense in the clutch in terms of just whether it's points or whether it's assists. And then for the OKC, it's Chris Paul. So
Aw, so
another
cute.
parallel.
So cute. They're each other's tethered.
Imagine them together. There'd be so much ball handling. Imagine them on one team together. There'd be so much
God.
ball handling.
So much stress. That's what that would
play
be.
that team. Or imagine you're a ref and you see that shift on your calendar.
Oh
Chasing
my
for a team
Nah.
with Lowry and
That was
Chris
right
Paul.
after.
It's like I'm
I'm
sick
gonna
that
like
day.
try
I'm
to
not
keep my
going to
shift
work,
away.
bro. I'm not going to work that day because they're just gonna
Just
be
harassment.
annoying. The most annoying pair.
You're
Like
gonna have to put earmuffs because they're gonna be yelling the entire game.
Because
It's
people
gonna be
taking
so
charges
funny.
everywhere you turn. The ball being
that would be
stolen from your
amazing.
hands when you get the rebound. Like
Chris Paul brings out the
nightmare.
rule book. He's like, "No, you're wrong. I have this right here."
The amount of
I was right
flopping
behind
too.
Nightmare.
Uh,
Man, that would be hilarious.
basketball gods, make it happen, please, just once.
I know that would be amazing.
Be so nice. Well, I guess that wraps it up for today's episode with Dishes and Dimes and Hoop Talks. I guess we'll see what happens tomorrow in terms of the game, whether or not the players choose to boycott. But no matter what it is, we stand behind our players and we can't wait to see you again. So take care. Bye.
Bye, guys.
Bye.